This is the story of a lion born in dust, chained by tyranny, but strong enough to claw through time itself. A man who rose from a prison cell to change the destiny of nations. This is Nelson Mandela, the lion born from dust in the eastern hills of South Africa. There stood a quiet village named Mvezo, surrounded by rolling mountains and endless grasslands. It was a place where time moved slowly and traditions ruled life. The soil was dark, heavy with the pain and prayers of generations. On July 18, 1918, a child was born in a small mud hut. His mother held him close, her eyes shining with an unexplainable feeling. His father, Gadla Henry Mafekeniswa, looked at the sky and whispered, "This boy will not live an ordinary life." They named him Rolihlahla Mandela. In the Xhosa language, Rolihlahla means one who pulls the branch of a tree, but in reality, destiny had chosen him to shake the roots of an entire system. He was born into the Vembu royal family. His father was a respected chief and counselor to the king. People came from far villages seeking justice. Rolihlahla would sit quietly under the shade of a tree, watching every decision. He noticed something special. No one was silenced. The weak were heard. The poor were respected. His father listened before judging. That day, a seed was planted in the boy's heart. True power is justice. First taste of oppression at the age of 7. Rolihlahla was sent to a mission school run by white teachers. It was his first step into the world controlled by Europeans. On his first day, the teacher looked at him and said, "Your name is too difficult. From today, you will be called Nelson." The boy froze. "My name is Rolihlahla," he whispered. The teacher replied coldly, "Here, you are who we say you are." In one sentence, his identity was stolen. That day, he learned a painful truth. Being black was considered a crime. The loss that changed everything when Nelson was just 9 years old. His father died of lung disease. His world collapsed. The man who taught him justice, pride, and leadership was gone. King Jongintoba Dalindibo, regent of the Vembu people, adopted Nelson. He moved into the royal residence. For the first time, Nelson saw politic-spoused negotiations, but he also learned responsibility. The king often told him, "You will not live for yourself. You will live for your people." These words burned inside his soul. Education and awakening. Nelson was sent to the best schools. Eventually, he reached Fort Hare University, the only university for black Africans at the time. Here, he saw discrimination clearly. Black students had no voice. White authorities controlled everything. One day, during student elections, injustice took place. The administration ignored black students. Nelson stood up. "This is unfair," he shouted. "We are not slaves." Silence filled the hall. That was the first time he publicly challenged authority. The result? He was expelled, forced marriage, and Nelson was sent back to his village. The elders decided, "Let us marry him. Marriage will tame him." But Nelson refused. He knew this was not marriage. It was a prison. One dark night, he escaped. No money. No support. Only one dream. Freedom. He traveled to Johannesburg. What he saw there shook him. Black men, Beaten. Workers treated like animals. Police brutality. Everywhere. For the first time, he saw the blood of injustice. That day, Rollalala disappeared. Nelson Mandela was born, becoming a lawyer in Johannesburg. He worked as a night quarter clerk, a mine worker. By day he worked. By night he studied. Finally, he enrolled in law school. His mission was clear. I will learn their law, so I can destroy injustice with their own weapon. He became one of the first black lawyers in South Africa. Poor people lined up at his door. He fought their cases for free. People warned him, "You will die doing this." He smiled. "If I stay silent, we all die anyway." Joining the resistance in 1944, Nelson joined the African National Congress ANC. This was the moment a man turned into a leader. He created the ANC Youth League. He organized protests, boycotts. Strict government panicked. They passed harsher laws, but Mandela did not stop. The storm begins. Nelson became the face of resistance. Crowds followed him. His speeches burned like fire. You cannot jail an idea. You cannot kill freedom. White rulers called him Dangerous Oristum of the state, but the people called him Hope. Final scene, suspense hook. One cold night, after a speech, Nelson walked alone. Suddenly, police vehicles surrounded him. Arrest him. Hands grabbed him. Cold metal cuffs closed around his wrists. An officer laughed. "You think you can change this country?" Nelson looked into his eyes. "No," he said calmly. "I will change the world." The police laughed, but time was already smiling. The Lion in Chains. The year was 1952. The night was cold. The streets of Johannesburg were silent. Police vehicles surrounded Nelson Mandela. Cold metal handcuffs closed around his wrists, but his eyes showed no fear. As the car moved, Mandela saw black people standing quietly on the roadside. They could not speak. Speaking was a crime. A young boy slowly raised his fist. A silent salute. A sign of hope. Mandela smiled. He knew this arrest was not the end. It was the beginning. The courtroom battlefield. Next morning, the courtroom was full. Journalists. Government officers. Secret agents. The judge shouted, "Nelson Mandela, you are accused of rebellion, of encouraging people to break the law, of threatening national security." Mandela stood tall. "Yes," he said calmly, "I break unjust laws." Silence filled the room. The judge slammed his hammer. "Do you know the punishment for this?" Mandela replied, "I know the price of truth. It has always been prison." First sentence. Mandela was sentenced to 9 months of hard labor. Prison doors closed. Behind him. Dark cells. Bad smell. Screams of prisoners. This was a South African prison. A guard laughed. "Here you are not a leader. You are just a number." They gave him a number. 46,660 for that night. He slept on the cold floor. No blanket. No pillow. He stared at the ceiling and thought, "If I lose, millions will lose with me." Resistance behind bars in prison. Black prisoners were treated like animals. Less food. More work. No respect. White prisoners received better. treatment. Mandela refused to stay silent. He stood in front of the guards. End this discrimination. The guard laughed. You are nothing here. Mandela replied, Today I am your prisoner. Tomorrow you will be prisoners of history. His words spread like fire. Prisoners found courage. For the first time, there was resistance inside prison. ANC banned outside. The government banned the African National Congress. Meetings became illegal. Speeches became crimes. But the movement did not stop. Mandela went underground. He used secret names. Secret locations. The people called him the Black Pimpernel, always present, never caught. Sharperville Massacre 1960. Police opened fire on unarmed protesters. 69 innocent people were killed. Blood covered the streets. Women screamed. Children ran. Mandela watched the news in silence. Then he said, Peace has failed. Now we fight. That day, his path changed forever. Choosing armed resistance, Mandela made a historic decision. In 1961, he created a new organization, Umkhonto we Sizwe Spear of the Nation. It became the armed wing of ANC. Their mission: attack government buildings, destroy symbols of oppression. But one rule was clear: no civilians harmed. It was war. But with morals. Secret travels. Mandela secretly traveled across Africa. Received military training. He asked for international support. World leaders started noticing him. But his enemies were watching. Betrayal 1962. A traitor informed the police. Mandela's car was stopped on the road. Nelson Mandela, you are under arrest. He knew this arrest was different. This time, return would be hard. Rivonia. Raid 1963. Police raided a farmhouse in Rivonia. They found secret documents, act plans, maps. Government smiled. Now we will finish him. Rivonia trial courtroom was tense. Death penalty was possible. Mandela stood to speak. His voice was strong. I have fought against white domination. I have fought against black domination. I dream of a society where all are equal. It is a dreamy AM prepared to die for. The room froze. Even the judge was shaken. Life imprisonment verdict came. Life in prison. Mandela smiled. You can jail a body, not a dream. Robben Island was sent to Robben Island, a prison in the middle of the sea, a place where men were buried. Alive. Small cell. No bed. No blanket. Cold floor. Long nights. A guard said, You will die here. Mandela replied, I will make history here. Life in hell. Prisoners worked in a stone quarry. The sun burned their eyes. The dust cut their lungs. They were beaten. Insulted. Mandela stood strong. He shared food. He gave hope. He taught prisoners secretly. Soon, prison became a school. Leader. Even in prison, young prisoners gathered around him. They called him Madiba. Taught them disciplinativeness. Guards slowly changed. Some started calling him Mr. Mandela. Respect was growing. Final scene. Suspense hook. One night, Mandela sat in his cell. He wrote on the wall with his finger. Freedom. A young prisoner asked, Will we ever be free? Mandela looked at the stars through the bars. Freedom is slow, but it never dies. Outside, the ocean roared. Inside, a revolution was growing. The prison that became a battlefield mornings on Robben Island did not begin with sunlight. They began with screams. A sharp whistle cut through the cold air. Wake up, line up. Prisoners jumped from the cold floor. No beds, no blankets. Bare feet on freezing cement. Nelson Mandela stood slowly. His body was weak, but his spirit was unbreakable. They lined up outside their cells. Black prisoners on one side, white prisoners on the other. Even inside prison, Apartheid lived, the stone quarry of hell every day. They were taken to a limestone quarry. The white stones reflected sunlight so harshly that eyes burned. Many prisoners lost their eyesight. They worked for hours, breaking stones, carrying heavy loads, bleeding hands, cracked lips, no water. No mercy. One afternoon, a young prisoner collapsed. He could not move. A guard kicked him. Get up. Mandela stepped forward. He is sick. He needs rest. The guard screamed. You give nitrogen monoxide orders here. Mandela looked straight into his eyes. You are also human. Do not become a monster. Silence fell. Other guards froze. This was the first time Simeon dared to speak back. A leader even in chains that day. Something changed. Prisoners started looking at Mandela differently, not just as a man, but as a leader. At night, when the lights went out, Mandela whispered lessons. Knowledge is power. He taught. Histopoliticum writes, the prison became a university. They called it Mandela University. Young prisoners sat around him. He taught discipline. Anger will destroy you. Patience will make you strong. Smuggled books were banned. But Mandela found a way. Pages were hidden inside food containers. Words were written on toilet paper. Notes passed secretly. One prisoner watched the guard. Another read quietly. If caught, beating solitary confinement, no food, but no one stopped. Because knowledge meant freedom. Personal tragedy. On day, Mandela received terrible news. Your mother has died. He requested permission. I want to attend her funeral. The answer came. No. He sat alone in his cell. Silent. Broken. Years later, his eldest son died in a car accident. Again, permission denied. That night, Mandela cried for the first time in years. But no one saw his tears. A leader must hide pain. The world outside is changing outside the prison walls. The world was waking up. London, New York, Paris, people shouted, "Free Mandela." Concerts were organized. Politicians spoke. Universities protested. Sanctions hit South Africa. The economy started collapsing. The government panicked. This man is dangerous. Even inside prison. The offer only day. A government officer came. If you give up the struggle, we will release you. Mandela smiled. I did not fight to be free alone. I fought so everyone can be free. Offer rejected. The officer left angry. The government was shocked. The guards start changing. Time passed. Some guards changed. They watched Mandela. Always respectful ways. Kong never bit her own. Guard asked, "Do you hate us?" Mandela replied, "Hate destroys the hater first." The guard looked down. Tears filled his eyes. That day, the wall between prisoner and guard cracked. Mandela, the judge inside prison, disputes happened. Fights argumentations came to Mandela. Madiba, decide. He listened calmly. He judged fairly. No shouting. No anger. He became. Judge-teacher Apartheid talks begin with the 1980s. The government was weak. International pressure, economic collapse, internal protests. They secretly contacted Mandela. He was moved to a better prison, a private cell, a bed. Books. They wanted to talk. Mandela agreed. But carefully, he knew. They are desperate. The powerful questioner government official asked, "If you are freed, will you seek revenge?" Mandela smiled. "We fought for freedom, not revenge." The room went silent. That answer shook them. Mandela's strategy. Mandela knew something important. Freedom is not victory. Peace is victory. He planned. No civil war, no bloodshed, no revenge. He wanted one nation, own people, one future. Even in prison, he was planning a new South Africa. Letters to the future. Mandela wrote letters. To leaders, to children, to the world. Most were blocked. Some passed secretly. His words became weapons, stronger than guns. The prison becomes nervous. Guards whispered. They will free him. Prisoners asked, "Is it true?" Mandela answered, "Freedom does not come with an announcement." He waited. Patient. Final scene. Suspense hook. One stormy night. Thunder shook the island. Mandela stood near the small window. A guard came. "Be ready. Something big is coming." Mandela smiled. Freedom always comes when you least expect it. Lightning lit the sky. History was moving. From chains to negotiations. The year was 1985. Behind the silent walls of Robben Island, a quiet war was being fought. Nelson Mandela was no longer just a prisoner. He had become the biggest problem for the South African government. Outside, the world was changing. Inside, an old prisoner was shaping history. Government in panic. South Africa's economy was collapsing. The USA and Europe imposed sanctions. Businesses closed. Banks weakened. People protested on the streets. Everywhere people shouted, "Free Mandela." Emergency meetings were held inside the president's office. One minister said, "This man is dangerous even inside prison." Another replied, "If we kill him, the country will burn." Silence filled the room. Finally, someone said, "We must talk to him." The secret meet in gone night. Prison doors opened. Mandela was taken away quietly. He entered a room where white officials were waiting. The door closed. An officer spoke. "Mr. Mandela, we want to talk." Mandela smiled. "After 27 years, you finally found your voice?" Silence. The officer said, "The country is falling apart." Mandela replied, "Our lives were destroyed long before your economy." That night, negotiations began. Conditional freedom offering official opened a file. "If you abandon the struggle, we will release you." Mandela closed the file. "We did not start violence. You did. We want peace, not slavery." Offer rejected. The officials were shocked. A strategic transfer. Mandela was moved from Robben Island to another prison. He now had a bed. Books. A private cell. It was not kindness. It was strategy. The government wanted to break him. Instead, he became stronger. Fighting with words, Mandela wrote letters to government, to world leaders, to his people. Many were blocked. Some escaped prison walls. His pen became a weapon, stronger than bullets. De Klerk arrives 1989. A new president took office. FWD. Clerk calm. Practical. Brave. He read the files carefully. Mandela is not the problem. He is the solution. De Klerk took the first step. ANC ban lifted. Political prisoners released. Winds of change swept the nation. Historic meeting. Klerk and Mandela at face to face. One table. To former enemies, but no hatred. De Klerk said, "We do not want civil war." Mandela replied, "We do not want graves." That moment, a new South Africa was born. Nation on the edge outside. Extremist groups created chaos. Bombs. Riots. Blood on streets. People screamed, "Take revenge." Mandela addressed the nation. Be patient. We will not choose war. The people listened. That was his greatest victory. The announcement. February 1990, the government declared Nelson Mandela will be freed. The nation froze. Was it real? After 27 years? The last night in prison, Mandela sat alone. He touched the cold wall. "You made me stronger." He closed his eyes. "Tomorrow I am free, but my responsibility grows." Sleep did not come. The morning of freedom, sun rose. The door opened. A guard said, "It is time." Mandela stood. He looked back at the cell. Goodbye prison. Hello freedom. Final scene. Suspense hook outside the prison gates. Millions waited, cameras flashing, people crying, fists raised. The gate began to open. The world held its breath. One step, and history was about to change forever. From prisoner to president, February 11, 1990, a day that changed South Africa forever. The streets of Cape Town were flooded with people. Black, white, young, old. Some were crying, some were singing, some were holding hands with strangers. Because after 27 years, Nelson Mandela was walking free. The prison gates opened slowly. A tall, elderly man stepped out. Grey hair, wrinkled face, but eyes burning with the same fire. He raised his fist in the air. It was not just a gesture. It was a declaration to the world. We survived. We won. Beside him stood his wife, Winnie Mandela. Cameras flashed. Crowds roared. The world finally saw the free Manwo had become a legend in chains. No place for revenge. Journalists rushed forward. "Mr. Mandela, you lost 27 years of your life. Will you take revenge?" Mandela smiled gently. "I left my hatred in prison. I walked out with hope." The world fell silent. His words were not political. They were spiritual. A nation still in chains. Mandela was free. But South Africa was not. Apartheid was still alive. Black people still suffered. White minorities still ruled. Mandela knew freedom of one man means nothing without freedom of the nation. He immediately began talks with President F.W.D. Klerk. A former prisoner and a sitting president sat face to face. History held its breath. Mandela said, "We do not want war. We want justice." Months passed. Negotiations were slow. Tensions were high. Some wanted blood. Some wanted peace. Mandela chose peace. Threats from both sides' radical groups threatened him. Compromise is weakness. White extremists threatened him too. You will destroy our country. Mandela walked calmly. He knew a leader walks alone sometimes. Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. The world honored him. Nobel Peace presented by Mandela and de Klerk. Mandela said, "This belongs to those who died for freedom." Tears filled his eyes. The first free election 1994 for the first time in history. Black South Africans could vote. People walked for miles. Old women on sticks. Young men barefoot. Mothers carrying babies. They stood in lines for us. No complaints. No anger. Because this vote was their voice after centuries. Mandela cast his vote. He whispered, "This is for my mother, for my father, for every prisoner." President Mandela's results came. Nelson Mandela became president. The entire nation celebrated. A former prisoner ruled the country. At his inauguration, world leaders attended. Presidents. Kings. Prime ministers. Mandela stood at the podium. Today we do not seek revenge. We build a new nation. Forgiving the enemy at the ceremony, Mandela invited former generals. The same men who once jailed him. He shook their hands. Smiled. His friends were shocked. "Why are you doing this?" Mandela replied, "If I don't forgive, I remain their prisoner." The Truth and Reconciliation Commission Mandela created a bold system. Truth and reconciliation. Commission criminals confessed. Victims listened. No revenge. Only truth. Killers admitted crimes. Torturers cried. Some victims forgave. Some could not. But healing began. The world watched in awe. No civil war. No bloodbath. Only courage. Leading with humility, Mandela lived simply. No luxury. No palace life. He visited poor villages, listened to people. He believed a leader must serve. Winning over white South Africans, many white citizens feared him. He would punish us. But Mandela surprised them. He wore the Springbok rugby jersey, a symbol of white pride. He attended their matches. He united the nation through sports. People realized he belongs to everyone. Global icon Mandela traveled the world. United Nations White House, Buckingham Palace, standing ovations everywhere. He met President King stars, but he remained simple. He said, "I am not special. Circumstances made me." Stepping down from power after one term, Mandela announced, "I will not run again." The nation was shocked. "You are our father." He smiled. A good father teaches independence. He left power peacefully. Another historic moment. Life after presidency. Mandela focused on fighting poverty. The awareness-based mission never stopped. Serving the final good. By December 5, 2013, Nelson Mandela passed away. The world mourned. United Nations held silence. Presidents bowed their heads. Because this was not just a man, this was a conscience. His legacy, a village boy named Roli Lolabekam, a prisoner, a rebella, leader, president, a legendous life, proved you can break chains without breaking hearts. Final message. Mandela once said, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the triumph over it." His story is not African. It is human. The and heroes of history. Nelson Mandela series. And so, the lion returned to silence, but his roar still echoes in every free heart. He proved that chains can break, hate can fade, and forgiveness can change history. Nelson Mandela did not just leave a story. He left a legacy.